This is Inside Out.
Okay, welcome to our great channel, the SML News UG, where we give you authentic information day in and day out. One, I want to appreciate our viewers for the comments you normally give. Whatever you write helps us to improve our production, our quality, our distribution of information. But most important, we are proud of those who have had their lives changed because of the information we have. As usual, we have a community responsibility to improve the lives of those who view us. That's why we keep getting one or two issues in society and give it attention, because we know for sure that some of you are grappling with such problems. Tonight, I am privileged to host our friends again from the Ginger Recovery Center, the special and newly established center that's fighting drug abuse, addiction, they call it substance abuse, addiction, social disorders, and related problems. I am informed that there's great improvement at the center. Many of you have started going to the center to seek medical attention or counseling services, and you see that the center is improving every other day. I have the privilege and honor, a rare one for that matter, to have my friend Jolande Heppel Namabiro. Namabiro is a Chisoga name, I think, for people who are, I think for mothers. Namabiro means that you are social, you're able to bring people together, you're able to feed the family, you're a solution provider. So when you say, Katwete Namabiro, let's invite Namabiro to solve this. It means we are inviting the last one and only source of solution of our problem. So I am glad that you are Namabiro. I would be Semabiro going forward.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having us,
Yes.
for having me to speak on something that I'm quite passionate about. And first of all, it's people. And having had people with addiction in my family, I really strive with Ginger Recovery to help others.
So what are you doing at the Recovery Center in Ginger?
In Ginger, I'm the programs manager. So together with Peter, we put a program together. So treatment plans. We also do desensitization, so go out into the community, specifically schools. We've got mental wellness club, we call them champions, health champions, so that we can create an environment from school-going age where people are able to open up. And it's interesting that most of the time when we go to a school and talk, they ask if they know someone in their village, how do they get them to us? So it's also a way of just providing information to the community that we are there to help people with mental health disorders and addiction.
Let's start from your country. Which one is your country?
I am originally from South Africa.
From South Africa.
And in the last year or two, I've been living in the UK.
In the UK.
So today I've come from the UK, yes.
Okay, let's look at the South Africa, for example. Just how big is the problem in that country?
The problem is big in South Africa, it's big in the UK. I think it's a worldwide problem. And I think we also need to understand that it has got nothing to do with race, culture, finances. Doesn't matter how rich or poor you are, you can be an addict. You know, a perfect example is actors.
The actors.
It's
yes.
rife.
The celebrities. We see
It's
them.
rife. You know, and what are they trying to hide? Their real personalities. Businessmen, rich businessmen use cocaine because they believe it makes them more social and sharp. But they lose businesses, they lose families because they're using those substances. In poorer communities in South Africa and Uganda, people use it as an escape. They want to escape their circumstances. So, you know, ladies of the night, it's not a very nice job. So they would use it to numb themselves. People that have trouble at home would rather go sit in a bar and drink something to just check out of life completely.
Take me through the experience of a recovery center in South Africa or in the UK. How would it look like? What does it offer? Are they within hospitals, or do they live independent, that recovery center is independent from the hospitals? And then if so, how do the two relate? Because they seem to be serving the same person.
They're serving the same person and they are very similar. So when an addict is assessed, when they come to, say they go see a psychologist, and they agree with the psychologist that they need treatment. First of all, you will look at how they are affected physically. Some people have been addicts for so long that they have liver failure. So they would go to hospital, and that's the same all over. The conditions that an addict suffer from, that they would need immediate medical attention for. And then when they come into the center, it's all the same. It's detoxification, medication to detox. It would be, as in South Africa, most places, they would help the symptoms of detoxification, but they wouldn't, I think in Uganda, there's more medication involved to help the person overcome to detox. Then there's counseling by either a counselor, a psychologist. They will be regularly seen by a psychiatrist to assess their medical needs. So either physical or psychiatric. So say someone has got psychosis from using a substance, then they would get medication from that. But yes, it's good to ask about the comparison, and it is very similar. It's very similar. I would say the difference is that there is more facilities available in South Africa and in the UK, and also more government involvement. So that is why it's important for us as Ginger Recovery to get the word out there and to tell people that there is a place that they can come.
Peter has been running this center, I think, for the last couple of months. And Peter is one person I know.
Yes.
Who is not financially okay.
Yes.
It's costly to run a center.
Yes.
First, the infrastructure required to put it up is quite challenging.
That's correct.
Now, as a programs manager, how are you going to deal with the resource problem? Because the problem is big, the resources are meager, it's a burden. You have to do an outreach in a region, Busoga region where you are, has around 12 districts. A total population of 4, you're talking about a population of 4.5, 4.9 million people. And for you to be able to reach them and provide services, I find it a challenge. How set are you?
Of course, yeah, of course it's a challenge. It's a challenge in the country. It's not just a challenge for us. So we do try and get funding. It's very difficult. It's not easy. And we completely understand, you know, when families approach us and they're really desperate because they've got someone in desperate need for treatment, but
That's
they
what it
don't,
is. And they have no resources.
they don't have the money. Unfortunately, Peter and myself aren't rich. So all we can do is continue to run the program and hopefully bring someone on board to fund us eventually. Yeah, that is our goal.
You're looking at something like community mobilization for the center, like fundraising, or so?
We can do that, but the community is not exactly wealthy.
That's also the problem. Have you interested government in, are you trying to interest government in maybe giving a hand? Because these they are addicted, I would say, menace to the population.
Yeah.
So government must be concerned.
No, that is true. I mean, you know, we do know of government's children that are at university and drop out because they are addicted. Well, I hope your program reaches them and that they will get involved. I know that the Ugandan government at the moment is looking at setting guidelines for rehabilitation centers. So I'm also hoping that that's going to spark an interest in them to give some financial support.
I want to learn from you, Namavido, because I am not in your field. There is a central person that you commonly mention every other time in the process of rehabilitation called the counselor.
Yes.
What's the role of this counselor in helping the patient, the victim of drug?
Of abuse. So the counselor is like an ongoing process and support. The counselor will get the person in, assess them. You know, we look at what their circumstances are, like an underlying issue, whether it is family problems, relationship problem, financial problem, you know, have they lost their job? Something has caused them to use. Some people just lose their way, it happens. So the counsellor will help assess that. The counsellor will feed information to the team, so to the psychiatrist, you know, to Peter that runs the centre, so that we can get the addict the correct treatment. The counsellor will also make a treatment program. So this is what, and it's specific to a person. You know, you will look at the person, like what is their interest, set goals, like talk to them about the future. So motivational interviewing. Motivational interviewing about what would be going forward. What are your goals? To motivate them to get over their addiction, and once they're out there, the counsellor will help them establish a plan on what their life will look like going forward.
Well, while growing up, I'm an old man, by the way. I'm now 46. Should be, but while growing up, I used to see persons who offered services similar to what you're offering, visiting homes.
Yes.
The idea was home visits.
Yes.
Because they believe that in the home setting, the victim is freer. Number two, in a home setting, you have an opportunity to teach the caregivers alongside this person how to handle. But it's also an expensive process. As a programs person, are you looking at home visits of some of these people?
So we do home visits. We generally do home visits when a family contacts us and say that they've got someone with a disorder. Then we go. We go out and we review the situation. We have an interaction with the family. They give us information. Then we sit down with the addict and we discuss with them what would be suitable for them. The reason we remove them from home would be because they are exposed to their substance. So if they're exposed to the substance, they need to be removed from it first. It depends on what the addiction or disorder is. Like we have someone that has psychosis. Okay, they don't have an addiction. They come check into the center once a week, but we have arranged with the family to see the person every morning and every afternoon. They feed them and they make sure they take medication. So we can put that in place. Resources are tough. You can imagine if we, to get there, and also it's a lot of staff to get everybody to go out to do home visits.
Have you come across problems like ladies of the night? The time you have been in Busoga? Are there some cases from such category?
Not yet.
Not yet.
We haven't.
You haven't?
No.
What's the common category of victims?
Young people, students, school-going. You know, addiction. When you're in your late teens and your early 20s, like you mentioned earlier, you know, like 18 to 23.
Around there.
You in the process of finding yourself, and all of a sudden you have a little bit of freedom, and then you get peer pressure. A lot of our clients talk about peer pressure. So now they don't know where they fit in. At school, you come every stream, you generally know people, you know where you fit in. Say now you go to college, university, or you go start working, you don't know where you fit in. And to fit in, you want to be liked, so what do? I do what you do. So you drink beer, I drink beer, you know? So, and I say have more, and I want you to like me, so I have more, and then it becomes a problem.
The component of screening and assessment, because I believe it gives you who to handle and when to handle hell. Just how is it? Take me through it. How is it done?
Okay, so you would say, first we have like a questionnaire that would establish, are you an addict? Are you really addicted? So what does addiction mean? Addiction means when it takes you away from functioning in everyday life. It means you can't go to work, or if you go to work, you get into trouble because you're not working, you're too tired. It will be questions like, how often do you use? Do you have relationship problems in your family? So that would be the first step. And then to continue, we will need the addict to admit that and accept, take responsibility that they have a problem.
Yeah.
Because without that, it's very difficult to treat them. So sometimes they'll come to the center and you'll have to keep them there for a while till they sober up. Because a drunk person is harder, or a person under the influence is harder for them to admit they've got a problem. And then sometimes it takes time, a couple of weeks in our facility, for them to sober up and realize, wow, look where I've ended up. And then they will admit. And then, like I said, for the counselor, then you will establish, like, not all counseling works on, like, it's not a straight line.
It's not a straight line, yeah.
So as a counselor, I need to build a relationship with my client. I need to get their trust.
Because that's the biggest. Introducing yourselves to this new person who has a problem and looks at you as a stranger, first instance in your life. Then you have to build rapport and trust in them so that they're able to open up, becomes the biggest problem.
Yeah.
And what specifically are the roles of the substance abuse counselor, therefore, and at what time does he or she come in?
Well, the counselor would be there from the beginning. And I think the question is like, how do you win that person over? Like you say, you know, you start and they're not exactly going to just pour their heart out to you. So one of the ways that I personally do it, and it also can depend on the counselor and what they do, I like sharing a bit of my story, which is, like I said in the beginning, you know, I have people that I love that struggle with addiction. It is very difficult to see them struggle. And then also so that is how I try to strike a rapport. You know, I don't come and sit here and judge you and say, oh, you know, it's bad what you're doing and you need to get over it. It's like trying to so that they can relate. You know, oh, here's someone that maybe can understand. And then what they share with you, the counselor needs to receive it so that they feel safe. And so that they can open up more. So if you tell me what your addiction is like, and I go, oh, you know, I just saw your body language when I did that. Usually you like...
Scares me already. I'm out of my skin to reduce.
Correct. So it is your demeanor. It's just being open. It's being kind. It's understanding. It's helping the person feel that there's nothing wrong with them. Maybe their brain works differently. We need to look at that. We need to look at their circumstances. It's the counselor's job is to see how we can support this person to lift them out of their addiction.
Do you have special training in the field?
Yes.
Special training.
Yes.
So are you helping train? Because I imagine you need quite a large workforce to handle the burden. Are you training them? Because hiring the already trained one will be expensive also. How are you navigating the issue of required personnel?
So we do have experienced staff. We have got a volunteer social worker that comes in and volunteers and helps with counseling. We've got a trained psychiatric nurse permanently on duty. So, and then Peter has got experience. He's worked in a rehabilitation center. And through drawing up programs and sharing information, it's sharing information, and that's how the training is happening.
Okay. Because I realized that you're working in a region or an area that also holds to have to be able to seek, shall I call it medical, because many of them in the village, the first point of seeking medical attention are those shrines, the witch doctors, the herbalists, and who struggle, and when they fail, at the time they come to, they have actually failed.
Yeah.
So it is another duty that you have to have a lot of budget and a lot of time on community sensitization.
Yes.
And especially you now, Namavilo will have a problem. They say, you those are people, these people, you are better off, you come from a better environment. They say, Peter comes from, you know, Peter's father is a priest,
yes.
if you are aware.
Yes.
He's a priest. They say, that one. So there must be a balance of either customer-tailored relations, sensitizations, for example, where you create special programs and invite people to come around the center, or where you have to spend and then keep going to schools, especially keep getting the opportunity to speak to students while they're still in their school environment. But also I would imagine, how about in instances where a family has a drug addict or a victim, but they have not taken a step to come to you. But you really see and observe that this is a problem. There should also be a system that helps maybe volunteers to let you know that there is a problem here, that you take a step to approach. Because there are families that have people suffering and they do not know that what they are suffering from can be handled by, by you.
Okay, so I first want to address the culture of traditional healing. It is not just in Uganda, we have that in South Africa. I had a client...
South Africa?
Yeah, I had a client recently, she's been suffering from anxiety for 6 years and she believes that it is like a spell. She's been bewitched. And that's actually a perfect example. So she's come for counseling and she goes for traditional healing. So it would be the same as if you cut your foot and you need stitches. You know, you might go to the herbalist, but you would also go to the doctor for stitches. It doesn't mean the one must exist without the other. They can work together. So that is the first thing I want to say. It's not one or the other. And then you ask about people observing someone that...
Some would call them maybe agents in villages. Maybe they are volunteers. Those who would voluntarily let you know that there is a problem here, even before they've affected the victims, realize it's there, and then getting into talking to these victims or their families to convince them that, by the way, your son or daughter or so has a problem we can manage.
At the moment, we don't have volunteers in communities, but that is why we're starting our champion club in the schools, mental health champions in the schools. So they go out, they speak to their parents, and it's so interesting when we do the talks at school because they have already identified people in the community, and that is their first question. How do we get them to you? So they can contact the center. Anyone can contact the center and say, we have someone, will you be able to come and speak to the family? And we will be able to do it.
About picking them. I have someone in the village with a problem.
Yes.
I do not have resources to transport the person to the center. Can the center pick that person?
The center is not financially able to support everybody in the region. So they will be charged to fetch them. We will fetch them, and the family will have to come up with the money. The center is not even 3 months old. We knew. Of course, if we had financial support, if we had a sponsor, if we had help from the government, yes, we would love to reach out to more people and sponsor them.
But what's the difference between a sleep and relapse in the context of substance abuse?
Okay, so when someone is an addict, they're an addict for life.
Really?
Yes. So you either an active addict, that is someone that is using, or you are a recovering addict, which means you know you're healthy, you're fully functional, and you're not using any substances. Or if you're addicted to a phone, you stopped like being on your phone 24/7. Or if you're a sex addict, you stopped
like
all
phone
of
addiction. There's an addiction on phone.
Yes. Yes. If you spend time on your phone and you're shutting out your family, you're neglecting your work.
Phone addiction.
Internet, social media. You spend time on that.
That you can't live without your phone.
You can't live, yes, like most of us.
I've told people I can't dwell with my phone for even a few minutes. You think that's some addiction?
How does it affect your life?
By the time I close the day, sometimes I've forgotten some tasks. I've still kept some. Yeah. Sometimes even the light, you feel like you have some problem with the interacting with the light, the phone light for all the day. Sometimes you feel if it's away, you miss it a lot. And at extreme stages, you can actually choose to stay with the phone and lose a person. A friend existed and said they wanted to have a conversation with you, and you have to choose between either them taking your time, your evening, and the phone. You choose to let them go so that you have time with your phone. I do not know it's an addiction of some sort.
That would be an addiction. And as a counselor, I would ask you, what is the hole in you that you're trying to fill with that phone? There's something you avoiding, because if you put the phone down, you have to be quiet and you have to be with yourself, or you have to be with people that reflect back to you the feelings that's going on. Maybe insecurity, loneliness. It fills the gap of loneliness, but it stops you from going out to make new friends and relationships. So yes, it's addiction.
Sometimes it's actually, like I've said it right, sometimes it's wanting to avoid some people, avoid something. Sometimes there's something you need, I've talked about a gap. You feel like there's something inside you, there's a gap or a hole inside you that you want to fill, and you keep looking for information. It's the hands it's the palm that's busy controlling your heart, where it should go and where it shouldn't go. And I think you need to emphasize that, because it could be one of the issues affecting relationships and causing relationship breakups, because sometimes these days our women, or men for that matter, would give more time to the phones than they would give you.
Correct.
Sometimes you're speaking to somebody and they are on the phone. Before you know it, they're asking you a question of what you have exactly been telling, and say, so have you done that? But say, I've been explaining the same thing all through.
Yes.
It is a new one. I have discovered it's a new one. I did not know that it's a bit, and I think you may have more victims here.
So there's an interesting exercise to do, and even the people at home can do. So sit with your partner, and you sit knee to knee, and you say, you start telling your partner the most important and exciting thing that happened to them during their day. So they'll tell you, you know, my boss came into the office and tell you and told me what a great worker I am. And the exercise is then for you to listen, keep eye contact, and while they're talking, turn away and go like this. So if you're interviewing me and you ask me a question, and while you're asking the question, I turn my back on you, what will you do?
I'll leave you, because it means you have shown no attention.
That's what phones do. So when your partner's talking to you and you pick up your phone to quickly look at that message that's come through, how do you think your partner feels?
Then you have had their back on them, so you are not interested.
Even if you don't turn your back, that whole action of I'm bringing something between you and me, and I'm giving my attention here and not to you.
That means there's something in between that's blocking your communication between the two. I think it is one you need to emphasize mostly. I think I am glad that you have time, first of all, to offer a voluntary service to a community. I will use it once, a community which is not yours anyway. You'd have chosen to stay in the UK or in South Africa to do that, but you chose to go and save lives and souls in a community which is not yours. And number two, the passion and commitment with which you seem to be dedicated to doing this, it will be very good. What I can only tell you as we conclude today's show is it's a big problem. Growing up, you may have to establish even sub-centers. You have a center in Jinja, but you have to establish a sub, because these are 12 districts.
Yes.
Sometimes the people want to reach you, have a lot of distance to move. That the best way you can help them is to put another sub-center closer to them. That comes with resource requirements,
yes,
infrastructure requirements, personnel requirements. But if you must achieve a service, you'll have to keep thinking along and doing that way.
Yeah.
I want you to wind up this. We'll start from there next time. If you have anything.
Thank you for having us and helping us spread the word. I agree with you. It's a big problem. And there's very little resources in Uganda to help the addicts, people with mental health. And I agree with you that I hope this is the start of many centers that can serve the community.
Thank you. Keep following us on our social media platforms. It's a great day having you. It's a great time learning new things. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
This is Inside Out.